right, good morning to all the replayers. If you are a replayer, you can still participate. Hi, TFA, RCARC. You can still participate. You can tap on the screen for hearts. You can share. You can, hi, Kimmy Rob. And of course, hi, Debbie. Hi, Dee. Hi, Popread41. You can, of course, share. You can follow me on Twitter. Hi, how are you? Hi, Joyce. You can follow me on Snapchat, especially those two places if you want to ask me questions. I love talking about money and answering questions. Okay. For everybody that's joining me now, good morning. For everyone that's joining me live, hello, welcome from the rainy Chicago weather. I just came back from my fitness class. Because wealth and health go hand in hand, folks. If you're not investing in your health, then you're not going to outlive your wealth. I know some people are like, yeah, you know, I'm in bad health, so I don't need the money, but that's not my philosophy. So health and wealth. If you're new to me, my name is joannazarach, and I do a daily Money Habits broadcast at 10 a.m. Central every single day, 7 days a week. Why? Because money doesn't sleep. You should be paying attention to your money every single day. And I'm trying to teach you guys and encourage you about good money habits. I'm also trying to share with you my deep knowledge of just basic finance. I've been a business consultant for many years. I actually know how money works. I love taxes. I don't do tax preparation. I just love the ideas and the rules. Spent like 15 minutes yesterday explaining to one of my friends how the W-4 form works and what can you do with it in terms of withholding. Oh, thank you for sharing that. So there've been a lot of talk in a little personal finance community about investing, and I talk a lot about investing. If you are new and you haven't heard me talk about the big five, there are big five levers in wealth building. Income. Everyone needs to solve their income equation. It's not something, you have to see income as something that you have access to and you can create by generating value for other people, by like learning, by knowing where money comes from. Hi, how are you? And so income is number one. Taxation. I can't stress that enough. I know it seems such a dry topic that people are like shy away from it. They just want other people to do taxes there's always a cost, yeah. Other people to do the taxes for them. But if you don't understand our taxation system, it's really going to set you back. You really need to understand some basic of taxation because there's such a huge implication in your wealth building, in both what you do with your income and how you think about money. Taxation is one of the sort of hidden costs, but also can be a hidden benefit of how you can retain more of your wealth. Investing, and we're talking about investing today. It's a bit of a rant because I have a very strong perspective on when you should invest, now being the time. And then big purchases. I think people get enamored with big purchases, and we put the capital that we build up into consumables. Could be a house, could be a car, could be, just a big dream vacation. And that will impact your wealth building. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it. You just have to understand how it'll impact it. And of course, risk management. Whether it's just risk against your loss of income, diversification, insurance, all of that. So investing. The topic today is when should you invest? Okay, my answer 9 times out of 10 is now. If you are not an investor, I want people to shift from the consumer mindset to an investor mindset. And the best way to do that is to become an investor. And I believe in a very, very simple way of becoming an investor. If you've never invested any money in your entire life, this is how you become. It doesn't matter if you're 20, it doesn't matter if you're 50. The way you become an investor in the US is take advantage of a tax advantage plan, tax deferred plan. Why do I say that? Mostly because people aren't investors. Why? Because of cash flow, right? Cash flow means they don't have more money they're not bringing in more money than they're spending. Here's what happens with the equation. People either spend all the money that they bring, or they bring in just enough money to cover their expenses. And if you create a need for investing, you will all of a sudden start creating what I call a buffer or differential, whatever you'd call this change between your income and your spending. And if you don't have a place to put it, you're just going to spend it. I'm talking about investing and why you should become an investor now. The only 2 times or 2 situations in which I don't recommend people become an investor. Here are the two situations. The number one thing is if you have credit card debt that is getting double digits, so more than 10% interest, and majority of credit cards, if you're carrying credit card debt, will charge you 15, 20, I mean, as high as 30% interest. You cannot out invest that, okay? And so if you have credit card debt, you need to, first of all, sort of look at why you got there. Most people get into credit card debt because they're kind of, their spending is hitting against their earning, and like something happens and goes over, right? You have like zero buffer. You're just breaking even, and because you're not tracking it, you're just not really keeping it in mind. Something comes up and boom, you can't pay off your credit card, or you had like an emergency, right? So there are two reasons typically that happen, but once you get comfortable paying that amount of level of interest, that's very disconcerting to me as an investor, right? I'm like, whoa, your math doesn't work. So that's number one. Number two, a situation that I probably haven't talked about a lot is if you lack income. Right? If for whatever reason your income stream has stopped, you had a job loss and you're in a single income household, your business is going under, right? Like if you have a lack of income, I would recommend, okay, you need to solve your income. You need to focus all your attention and you need to preserve your cash, whatever you have, or even your credit, to be able to make it to your income. Why do we diversify our income? So that you're not dependent, right? I'm a big believer, I'm an accumulator, right? I'm a big believer in trying to diversify my income. Now I'm still at the beginning stages of some of that, in terms of passive income or income from other sources. But those are really the only two reasons. So if you do not fall into one of those categories, if you do not have credit card debt, and if you don't lack an income, right? So those two things, solve those first. If you're in the all other category, which means you have income and you have no credit card debt, you need to become an investor now. There's nothing stopping you. I know that people talk about student loan debt, maybe mortgages, paying that off. But here's the thing. You can never get back the time. The time part of the equation of investing. That's why I say invest now. Here's how strongly I'll feel about it, right? My kids are little, so they don't have jobs, but I'm already planning. I'm like, what is their income going to be when they're young? Because every single, all the money that they earn, whenever they earn, and you know me, I'm going to be like, oh, kids, you could work in my company. You can work for mommy. You can file. You can, update my Instagram. They're going to learn. They're digital natives. And you can give your children income, or you can just get them, like, do a pepper route, right? If your children have income, that means that they can start contributing, because the Roth IRA is going to be their ticket to just have a very, to have even more, to create kind of a tax deferred or tax free wealth for when they're older, right? It's just really about creating base. It's not about having money that you can access any point in time. It's about creating a level of security for yourself. And again, it's diversification. I just use Roth because I think it's a very clever vehicle that's only been around for a while. But anyway, the answer is invest now. If you're 19, if you're 25, if you're 30, if you're 37, if you're 55, and you've not been an investor, or you maybe at one point were an investor, but you're not anymore, the time to invest is now, this year, 2016. 2016 should be the year that you invest, that you become an investor. And you will see these changes happen to how you think, to how you act, to where your money goes, because you're an investor. It's a part of identity, right? If you say, you know what, I'm an investor, and you take pride in understanding how investment works and how returns work and what are you getting and how can you be tax efficient. But if you're not an investor, if you're just a consumer, then all you care about is where you can spend your money, how much things cost, what's on sale, what's a deal. So that's kind of the rant for Thursday, the Thursday Throwdown. The Thursday Throwdown is about not waiting. I had student loans. I was in grad school. I started investing. I put money into an IRA at 22. It was $2,000. Was it easy? No. Did I have to give stuff up for it? I had a used car. My first car cost $1,200. I had, whatever, grad students don't require a lot of fancy clothes, didn't go on fancy vacations, right? Like I took that money and I decided, and it's like, because I was like, oh, a tax deduction. This is awesome. I'm going to get a tax deduction. That's great. Look at that. Because your tax rate, if your tax rate is like 25%, it's the government kicking in 25% into your wealth. And yes, someday it'll be taxed. But you know what? You're buying yourself like 50 years of compounded interest growing tax-free at 8%, average market rate of return. That's very, very powerful. So that's why I'm adamant about this. I'm adamant and I'm confident, and the math works. If you've seen any of my spreadsheets, the math just works. Don't wait till you pay off your student loans. Don't pay off your mortgage first. Don't do all of these things before you become an investor. Become an investor now. If I can just get one person a day to change from a consumer to investor mindset and actually take action and open an IRA, go to the HR department and say, I do want to put money into 401k. I don't care if it's 1%. I, of course, think you should max it, but I don't care what it is. You just start. You just start this year. Start in 2016, because it's not too late. It's never too late. And it's never too early, right? And that's the other thing. It's never too early to become an investor. And last week when I was talking to middle school kids about personal finance, right, just got a small group, and there's one kid and it's like, I have stocks, right? He's 13. Hi, how are you? He's 13 and he's like, I am, I have 2 shares of Apple. Yes, it is part of paying yourself first, but you got to take the action, right? Yeah, I was in a doctorate program myself, and the student loans, what's nice about the student loans, and it will set you back, but the interest on those student loans, especially, I don't know which kind you're getting, if you're getting government-backed loans, they tend to be lower. I still would say you were better off taking some of that money if you have money, again, cash flow. And I know graduate students, there's different graduate student programs. I was in a health related, life sciences related. Yes, encourage him, right? Like give him the extra boost, give him the confidence. Hey, give him $100, right? Like get him, if someone is interested, like someone in your family, do like everything to be that positive voice, because he's not going to hear a lot of positive voices, because what he's going to hear is from his friends or everybody else, spend, do. And so what you want to be is you want to be that positive voice. You want to give him confidence, because if he starts now, right, when he's young, he's just going to grow from that. And and tell him the ways in which are going to be effective, right? And get him to see what you can. And now there are like a lot of apps now that are, and again, I know I age myself. I'm like, hey, I'm a Vanguard, mutual fund person, because that's what I knew and that's what I know. And it's actually hard for me to learn all about the new investing apps, whether it's Acorn or even saving apps like Digits and stuff like that. So I know that he should research an app that would allow him to invest even small amounts, because I think it's just such an important process. But for the graduate student, if you're still on here, so when I was a graduate student, I had a stipend from an NIH, National Institute of Health, because I was in life sciences. But I had a lot of friends who didn't have a stipend, right? And they had to do like teaching assistants, and they had to pay tuition. So that's right. For graduate, I wouldn't worry so much about it. I mean, obviously, from a doctorate perspective, like taking out loans, and Kimmy, you're probably in a better situation than most. I wouldn't worry about taking on that loan to pay for that graduate student experience. Now, I would look at and make sure you understand what the terms are. There's some apps that I know that would be popular with younger kids, because they're all, I'm on my cell phone a lot. By the way, I'm on my phone so much, my thumb is hurting. I have a stand now because I was holding the phone so much. I have a thumb injury. Anyway, so look at the terms, make sure that the repayment terms are good. And while you're in graduate school, I don't think you have to repay them. But I would continue to invest while you're even taking out loans, student loans, especially in the tax deferred, right? The tax deferred accounts. See that special piece of my advice that talks about the tax deferred accounts or tax favored, whether it's an IRA, traditional IRA. Yeah, so you have a mortgage. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about paying down those debts that are like quote unquote good debts. You pay them off when you've invested everything. Like you're like, I maxed out everything and now I'm just going, okay, I got cash left around, what do I do with it? Like there is a time and a place. It's just further down the line, right? So I don't focus on debt repayment as a goal. I focus on investing because some of those debts are so low. I don't know where, I'm not an expert on grants for students. I would try to find someone that is, Doctor of Health Science. I think, it gives you options, right? If you want to make a career change or step up your job responsibilities, it definitely gives you options. And health science, like healthcare is one of those evergreen fields where I'm like, healthcare is just going to continue to grow. Healthcare is a field and industry that's going to continue to grow. So, it's one of those areas where I'm like, longer term, like people with expertise in that field will continue to have jobs opportunities, but also business opportunities, right? Like if you get, healthcare is a very secure field. Now, there are obviously some job types in healthcare that have an income ceiling, right? If you're a service provider, even if you're a doctor or a nurse or someone working with it, but job security is pretty good and it's pretty portable, right? Like if you want to move from one state to another, you can get a job. If you ever were looking to sort of optimize your spend and you're like, yeah, I'm living in a high cost area, you have skill sets that's highly desirable. And that's like something I look at when I like lend out money on like Lending Club. I'll go and be like, okay, people in healthcare, I know that they have jobs. Now their jobs aren't guaranteed 100%. Stuff happens, but they're better than like, manufacturing, for example, or people who have a skill set that's going away, right? Like think about what driverless trucks will do to our transportation industry in a decade, right? So like we're so far away from that, but it'll happen, right? That's why it's important for you guys to continue to get skills and learn about things and learn about businesses and learn about value and what value is created. So I don't even know okay. And so where value is created. And that's why, but by the way, investing is part of that education. And, we talked about, there was a Periscope yesterday when it was talk about like different stocks. All of a sudden you're like, oh, companies exist and, how do they make money? It just makes you curious. And when you're vested in it, when you're invested in it, you will get, you'll be much more likely to learn because guys, learning is, never ending. So I have so much education. What is the best place? So if you have income, right? If you have income, and in the US, the best place is to really open either through your work, if you have a 401k plan, please take advantage of it. It is just so easy because it's already set up for you. If you don't, open an individual retirement account with a place like Vanguard. Why do I recommend Vanguard? Vanguard's just the lowest cost. It is, you do have to make decisions, right? It's not like, if you want other people to make decisions for you with investing, you're going to pay them. You may not pay them with a check. You'll pay them in the fees that they'll charge you. So I encourage people over the long term, you're better off learning and struggling through it, especially in the beginning, than you are just handing off your money to someone else and say, please take care of it because I'm not confident. I want you guys to gain that confidence. So the place I would tell you to go is like, go to Vanguard. You can open an individual retirement account. You can invest money. Pick a fund, just one, maybe an index, and just get started. The getting started is more important than getting it perfect. And, and again, I try to, check your followers before, I block so many, you know what, everywhere I go, every Periscope or every day, I go into my follower list and man, do I block, I've lived more people on my block list than my follower list. So, anyhow, deferred comp, You know, I hesitate. You know, I think that active investing, yeah, so active investing for me, I'm not an active investor. And by active, I mean, I don't trade individual stocks. When I say I'm an active investor, as in I put money in every year into my investing portfolio. But I'm a strong believer in mutual funds because I don't do investing full time, right? I feel like the mutual funds historically, I listen to Warren Buffett remind me, it's like take a low cost mutual fund. You're not going to outperform the market. Most funds, actively managed mutual funds, that's why I like index, most actively, 96%, guys, 96% of actively managed mutual funds. These are people who are experts, who are get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars to select, to trade in and out on their funds. 96% of them do not outperform just the market, which is just index. Like, if people who tell you that outperform are, you know, perhaps looking at a very short time period, or they, you know, there's a lot of funds that close when they start underperforming and the new fund will open. And so if you read Money by Tony Robbins, if you read Tony Robbins' book that came out last year, the book is thick. And I mean by like both the size and just the amount of information. But that dude, he's good people, and he has access to people who are really high in the finance industry. And even for me, he was like, even for him, it was eye-opening. No, I don't recommend penny stocks. Like, I mean, I'm a true believer in buy and hold, right? Like, I'm in it for the long term. I really think taking advantage of your tax deferred contributions, and then just being in the market when it's down, put more money in it, you know, just being consistent. And that's like my strategy, guys, is consistency and patience. I've put money in the market every single year since 1998. and it's in tax deferred account. The only times I put it in non-tax deferred is if I maxed out all my tax deferred accounts, every tax deferred. So IRA, I have an individual 401k because I'm a business owner. By the way, business owners, take note. Every business owner, if you're a solopreneur, yeah, I just like anything that's too fancy. I'm like, I know my friend looked at these drips. If I don't not really clear on something, I kind of stay away from it because I'm trying to keep it simple. I'm like, here's a mutual fund. Here is the price that I bought it at last year. Is it significantly higher or lower? You know, do I buy when it's lower than what I bought it at last year? Yes. Because I don't look at the funds as in like, oh no, it's losing me money. It's not worth anything. Like, until you sell it, right? So I'm just consistently put it in simplest places, simple to me. And I have, you know, a big brain that can comprehend a lot of stuff, but I don't want to get bogged down in the detail of understanding something. Like I've heard the term drip, but I haven't, but I don't do it. I only tell you guys what I do. I'm mutual funds, and they're tax deferred or tax advantage. So IRAs, 401ks, individual 401k is really nice because you can do a Roth portion and a traditional portion, and a 529 plans, right? Like, my husband has the 403b and 457, right? Like, and so on and on and on. And if you just stack up all of these things with the maxes, like that's quite a bit of money, you know? So, yeah, and I just recommend like just taking advantage. Like, I'd rather put money in a non-tax deductible traditional IRA because I don't qualify for the Roth, because it's still protected, and then you can convert it to a Roth anyway. So if you stack up all those tax deferred money and then you run out of options, then I'm like, good for you, because it's a good problem to have, right? Like, don't worry about the problems you're not trying to solve, right? Worry about the things that are in your control. And again, you've just got to get started. You have got to get started invested. Yeah, so I think that's like if you're looking to live off of it. I mean, I reinvest all my dividends. You know, I'm in the accumulation stage still. Like, I'm gonna be 40 in less than 2 months. I feel like I'm still in the accumulation stage, right? And so, which I don't know. I kind of plan on being accumulation stage like for a long time because I'm still making income, right? Like so it's like I like making income. I always recommend I'm like figure out ways in which you can earn money that's sustainable, and then you're never going to try to be like, oh, if I could just stop working. I do what I like. I'm trying to develop this financial education business. I don't know what it'll be because I found myself that talking about like money concepts is one of the most fulfilling things for me. And making spreadsheets, like I love doing it. And so I still help businesses, but I do it at a very different business model than I used to. I was on the road all the time because I was still like depending on it, on the income. And you build it up, you save it, and then you go, okay, I'm maybe not accumulating at the same rate as I used to, but like at some point you got to get to the point where you're like, okay, maybe I don't need to. But you know, be accumulating for a long time because I don't see wealth, or I don't. That's why I don't talk about retirement. I talk about financial freedom because I don't want to go like this. I don't want my graph to be the spend down graph. I want to get to the point where it's just yeah, like living off dividends. So eventually, I have some dividends. Like it's a mix, right? I have a mix of stocks. I have a large portfolio, so the mix. There's definitely some dividends, but I'm reinvesting it. So you can definitely, I mean, that's definitely the plan, I think, except I'm more ambitious than that. I want passive income, right? I want to invest in more interesting things. And I was talking about learning. This is why I was talking about learning. So yesterday I get an email. And then MIT has a digital class, and it's a new class. It's the Internet of Things, right? And if you don't know about the Internet of Things, you need to learn. Like the future is coming. And I was like, ooh, Internet of Things. By the way, I probably will never consult in it. I will never do anything that's related. Like I'm never going to become an expert in the Internet of Things, but you're damn sure I'm going to pay $450 and I'm going to take that class. It's a 6-week class. It's going to take my time. It's going to kick my butt. You know, it's not like, oh, there's going to be an exam, but I'm going to try to learn from the MIT professors on the digital class, about the Internet of Things. Why? I want to learn from the experts about the future, guys. That's how I invest in myself. I invest in myself because I'm stimulated by learning. And you know what? I want to talk about intelligently about Internet of Things. Like 2 years ago, what am I doing? I talk about investing. Today I'm talking about how everyone should become an investor now, not wait till they're like ready. And the only 2 exceptions of not investing is if you have credit card debt that's in double-digit interest or if you lack an income, right? Those are really the only 2 cases. Everything else outweighs the start investing now outweighs the downside. I'm not a professor. I'm a management consultant. I'm doing financial education. I'm a management consultant by training, so I advise businesses and big corporations. I used to do big corporate. I don't do it anymore. Why? Because they suck up too much of my time. So I just advise like mid-sized businesses right now in Chicago or remote. I do remote work. But I've been doing personal finance my entire life, and I'm trying to teach people like how to manage money and how to think about taxation, investing, besides income, taxation, investing, big purchases and risk, so they can build wealth. That's my goal. That's my hello, Moscow. And so anyway, so yeah, the education, right? Like, so learn things from others. I learn things from others. I don't know. By the way, if you go on edX, this is a good plug. If you want to learn about, I'm just getting started last few months, but there's a professor, you can go to edX, and I'll retweet this because I signed up for this yesterday. There's a professor on edX.org. edX.org is a platform where there's a lot of free courses. And in April, there it is. There is a professor from Berkeley, professor of finance, and he's going to have a class on how to save money making smart financial decisions. It's a free class. Guys, there's so much free content out there. Yeah, edX, so it's edx.org. EDX, no E in the middle. So edx.org. You can search for how to save money making smart financial decisions. It's by a Berkeley professor whose topic is this area, and it starts April 15th. You're from France, yeah. Probably different, slightly different rules, but you know the application, like the thinking about money, is somewhat similar. But the tax laws would be slightly different. Investing, though, you know, we have access to global markets. Investing would be similar. So you know, you can take a free class. It's just your time. Yeah. Did you know something? Well, I've been to France a few times. Je ne peux parler français. I forgot most of it. And so. How to say, yeah. I took French when I was like in 4th grade through 12th grade. So, and then I stopped. I took 8 years of French. Yeah, I know, it's totally forgotten. Sometimes when I go to France, like the immersion, makes me think about it. But you know, I've forgotten all of it. And now I'm like, oh, who needs language? You can just use the Translate app. Anyway, so there it is, right? How to save money, making smart financial decisions. So I'm going to attend this class. I mean, do I already know 90% of the material? Probably. But do I want to learn from someone who's developed a teaching technique around this subject? And can I learn something for myself? Can I challenge myself? Yes. And do I actually want to support someone who's putting out free content, guys? A professor that's been at this for years. And, you know, granted, he's not on social media and he's not Periscope, but they have this platform. And at edx.org, and you can take a free class, right? Like, but are you doing it? Because I'm going to do it. And I don't need it, but like I feel compelled to see what's out there. Yeah. And then I'm taking this Internet of Things class from MIT as well, because you want to know where the future, like, doesn't everybody know where the future is going? Like, that's how you will, by the way, how do you think you're going to make money? If you really want to jump ahead, learn about things that not everybody knows about. If you just try to follow the mass, like, I know I'm totally off topic, but whatever. If you're just trying to follow the crowd, like, so Internet of Things, right? Like, look into where the future is going, right? Look at the today's population and look at the digital transformations, right? And see where the future is going. So integrating technology into our everyday lives is going to be huge. Big data, right? Like, by the way, if you could put big data in your work title, do you know that like that's the number one employment the type of employee people are seeking? Everyone wants a big data scientist. So you can learn that. You can learn about, you know, how people are spending their time, you know, how to get in front of the, you know, even being on Periscope. Guys, Periscope hasn't been around for like a year. Is it a year now? Like, I think Periscope went live about a year ago. I'm going to see. When I don't know something, I'll just look it up. Periscope, you know, Wikipedia. And, you know, and there's still like, understand that, go into the Internet of Things, go into how people are spending their time, understand how money flows, right? Where are the big money moving? Think about the development of the middle class in developing country, right? Like, or even the problems of China and India, and say what is important? How will they start participating in what we take in the U.S. for granted? And how is their behavior? And by the way, all those transactional companies, tech companies like Uber, by the way, understand how Uber model works. Understand how where people are spending their money. Like, childcare is a huge cost and a burden. That everybody needs, but they don't know, right? So, but like the thing is though, because the phone has made it so much easier to do what things. It's solving the same problems. It's just in a different way, right? Like access to information, communication, efficiencies, all of these things. There'll be, and you know, you don't want to be too far out, but you know what? You can be an expert. And the way you become an expert, here's what you do. You learn, then you talk about it. By the way, you raise your hand. I have enough. You raise your hand and you go, I'm an expert, right? I know how to do it. I know more than the other, like in a room of 100, do you know more about it than 99 people who didn't take the time to learn about it, right? That's the point. Like, be an expert, become an expert. And you won't be an expert in a month or maybe even a year. Guys, 20 years ago, investing was hard. 30 years ago, it wasn't even accessible to people in the middle class or upper middle class. It was really only accessible to the wealthy. 40 years ago, you had to call a stockbroker who would only take your phone call if you had a big enough cash, asset, and they would make money off of investing. Today, come on, you can invest from your goddamn phone. No excuse, right? There's just so much access. Like, use it, right? Don't just go, oh, good, I can play Angry Birds, like, in my free time, right? Like you're like, what are you doing? Like, how are you contributing? There are risks in everything, but there are also risks of inflation, and you're going to sit in cash, and your cash isn't going to grow, and you have $100,000 in the bank, and then in 10 years, you can't hardly buy anything with it. It's true when we don't know how to manage. That is true. You have to learn, right? But you learn by doing. When the stakes are low, learn early, learn often, learn by doing. I wouldn't care so much about this or know so much about it if I didn't do it. You gotta learn. Well, you gotta learn in school, but even when you leave school, like, keep learning. I take classes every year. And a lot of them are free. You want to learn how to code? By the way, you want to learn how to code? Codecademy. You can learn how to code, but you know what? It's going to take time. By the way, you want to find out if you even like coding? Go and do it and find out. And if you don't enjoy it, know somebody who knows how to invest. Becoming an expert in teaching, right? Share your passion. Khan Academy, that's right. Learn what you're passionate about and share it with the world. Like, I'll watch people talk about, and that's important to know. Because everyone's like, oh, everybody's got a code. Well, you should know how coding works, but you don't have to be an expert. And that's the thing. Like, you should know how languages work. Coding, like programming, like website development, Java, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, Ruby. So all the different languages, computer programming, really. I mean, the more advanced version. By the way, HTML, CSS is formatting. It's not real coding. It's like front end versus back end. But I went through and I learned every single language. I mean, I didn't learn it proficiently, but I like, when someone says Ruby on Rails, I'm like, oh, I get it, or where they say JavaScript, or like if I actually go into my browser. So I consult to businesses. Yes, I make a lot of, and that's okay. And then do I invest in something? I invest in the stock market. I invest in mutual funds. I've been investing in mutual funds on here. Oh, no, I haven't, so I've been on Periscope for like 4 months. I literally got on Periscope so I can start talking about money and teaching people about money, because and mostly what I'm looking for is I don't understand what other people, like, what's stopping other people. Like, because I'm a very analytical person and I'm math oriented, right? They have classes, but everyone has a passion. Well, it's like I'm trying to help people, because I was like, I want to break down what it is that people what's the missing link in personal finance, and then what is it the financial industry doesn't want you to know, right? And so I found that, like, most people aren't as passionate about these topics as I am. I said, okay, well, I can share my passion with people. And so Periscope's my testing ground. Like, it is to see, like, does anyone want to listen to what I say, and I know what questions people have. That's why I meet with families around Chicago, or even people on the phone, right? I go, I want to know, like, what's stopping you and what would help you move forward? What helps you take action, right? And one of the things I do is I make these spreadsheets that, like, illustrate the point through numbers, but I program the calculation. I say, look, here's the relationship between the numbers, the inputs and the outputs, and it's applicable to them. Business communication. Yeah, selling. By the way, if you can sell, right, like budgeting and staying on budget, it's like first step, right? Like, well, first step is to admit you have a problem, right? But, like, I recommend mint.com because it's such an easy way to, like, some of these things used to be hard. Like, people used to physically balance a checkbook. I don't know if you've ever seen those, like, where you write down and you have to do subtraction additions. Hello, how are you? And, like, you don't have to do that anymore. Anyway, I know I'm going on and on. So I have a lot of engagement today, and I don't. My meeting got canceled. So yeah, on Periscope. Did you know something? I don't. Chicago. I'm in Chicago. I'm in the U.S., so my advice is very U.S. centric. I say it's not U.S. U.S. only. I mean, some of the principles of money and math. I'm like money math. It's like math, but with money. Apply to most people. Yeah. So Turkey would have a different environment and different challenges and different risks. But we are all becoming global investors. And again, I know U.S. is a little bit further ahead in terms of having access, but everyone has technology. And then there's also different things. No, I've never been to Luxembourg. I mean, I know about Luxembourg, but I've never been there. So, yeah, so your lecture, yeah. So you share your knowledge with people, and and that's the thing. And so what's deepened my knowledge, what's deepened my knowledge about finance, guys, is Periscope. Do you know that I've learned more about money? Do I have a job? I am a business consultant. Like as my day job, and then I do personal finance on Periscope. I'm trying to teach people about application of financial concepts and how to build wealth and how to think about it and how to think about money. But every time I have to do a Periscope, like I have to do research, and sometimes it's 5 minutes and sometimes it's a half hour. And I know things, sure, I know things about money just from doing it, but I want to make sure I'm delivering correct information. So I will go on and I will, prepare. And I have learned more in the last 4 months by doing Periscope. Like I've added to my knowledge. That's the beauty of being a teacher and giving back, is that, yeah, Periscope has a ton of great people. Joannazarach, you see that in my handle. And so there's a ton of people who are, and by the way, how you want to invest when you don't have money? Well, you got to solve the income equation, right? The top 5, you got to figure out how to earn. You've got to figure out how to earn money. Like you've got to figure out where the value is. And you have, then if you don't have a skill, here's the thing. If you don't feel like you have a skill that you can earn money with or that's valuable, you have to do one of 2 things. You have to get a job that you're going to learn things at. That's an apprenticeship model. And by the way, I learned a lot and when I was first a management consultant, I didn't like graduate and I was like, oh, I'll be a management consultant. I'll advise companies because I know so much. No, I had to go and I worked for a management consulting company, and I learned, and it was hard, guys. I'll not joke around it. When I was a management consultant, my first 6 months were rough. Because I just didn't know enough. And I was put in a position where I had a lot of responsibility. And I had to learn Access in the weekend. If you don't know what Access is, a database program. I had to do so many Excel classes on the weekends, just so I could do it. So many trial and error, so many stressful things. I didn't know how to make presentations. So if you don't have a skill set, you've got to go somewhere and learn it. You've got to learn by working really hard. And by the way, by doing things that you didn't think you were capable of. I don't invest in France specifically. No, I mean, I'm sure some of the companies in the portfolio that I have some French connection. I've worked in some business. I've done some consulting for businesses that had French operations. But no, I don't invest in sort of specific French stuff. I don't know what's available to French people for investing. Can you invest in the U.S. stock market? I don't know. But I have global funds, right? I have funds that are in the developing world. See ya. And other places. Hi, how are you? So that's really it. That's really what was the. I don't. Sometimes I miss my point. But yeah. Oh yeah. Apprenticeship or learning, right? Or you have to if you have a job. Hi, how are you? So you can learn through apprenticeship. You gotta put in the time, guys. Nothing. You don't just wake up and be like, oh, I'm gonna be this person and do that. Good morning. And so you will not. You can't just sort of project, I'm doing great. You can't just project value, or you can't sell things that you're not yet capable, you're not expert at it yet. And then learning is, you can learn a skill, but you got to practice it, right? Learn, practice, that's the best way. But everyone has some things that they're good at, or that they are better than other people. And you can, there's all these strengths, you can do a test, figure out what you're best at. And then follow the money, right? Figure out where people are making money. If you really want to do something, go talk to someone who's already doing it. right? Most people will they may not give you money, but they'll give you advice. Ask people for advice. Ask people what they did, how they got there. Ask how hard it was. Like, what are the downsides? What are the upsides? Like, I know there's some things I'm not good at. I don't like spontaneous phone calls. I know it sounds funny. I don't like spontaneous phone calls. I have to schedule. I don't know. Depends, I guess. It depends. Like, depends the contracts that I set up with my business clients. So enough. Uh, and so, like a few $1,000s, like I'll charge, I don't know, I guess on professional services, like a few $100s an hour. Depending on what, and you can look at management consulting and see, what does a management consultant make. I don't know what the latest. You can look on Glassdoor, for example. I don't know what the latest is for entry level management consultant at a big consulting firm. It's 6 figures, I think, though, for people with an MBA or an advanced degree. And again, it's hard to get in, right? It's hard. It's not like you just go and show up, right? There's like a path. Like, if anybody ever wants to know how to, what's the path to management consulting, it's not easy. But it doesn't mean you can't do it. Yeah, you can't look. Well, don't you have access to the websites like glassdoor.com? Some equivalent of it in, I don't know what the barriers are for the internet searching when it comes to US based websites. But there are like there's websites that aggregate, salary information. So know what you're going into, right? And then learn, right? You can learn, but only learn things that you are capable of doing. Again, I was like, I'm going to learn how to code, but I'll never be a developer. I will know what it takes and what, I can look at code, but I don't have it in me to sit there and, like, that's a certain personality type and a certain like thing. Yeah, you're in university, right? So you're still learning, which is great. Yeah, you're in a university. So start thinking about like, what's your career? By the way, I had no clue when I was in college what are my career options. I didn't really have a clue about a job potential. It wasn't really until I was in grad school. I just went to grad school because I really didn't know what else to do. And I thought that's what I needed to do. Yeah, accounting is a very helpful skill, right? It's a usable skill. I would actually challenge you to go maybe higher, right? Like, be an accountant and something else. Because like accounting, like sometimes accountants get boxed in and then they don't get, promoted. So always like try to round out your skill set. And that's the other thing, like you can always add to your skill set. Make sure you're adding. Add to your skill set. All right, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. Thank you so much for your engagement. Again, for staying on for so long. Thank you for your attention. I'm on here every single day, 7 days a week at 10 a.m. Chicago time, talking about finances. Yeah. Oh, nice. Okay. Occupational. Yeah. Thank you, guys. And I will see you here tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Fees. We're going to talk Fridays. I talk about fees all day long. So I'll see you guys tomorrow at 10 a.m. Same back time, same back channel. Bye.